Welcome back, men. In this meeting, we're going to talk about the basic setup. We're going to talk about motions and shifts, defensive alignments, and defensive fronts, and then get into protections. All right, big on big, slide, and then gap protections. So we're going to define all of those terms. First off, let's get into the basic setup. As we talked about in recent meetings, the basic setup is just a beginning point for you to line up your defense. That's all it is. So what I like to do is make sure that we have our defensive linemen, defensive tackles, that's what the T's are, and defensive ends, that's what the E's are. Put them in an even front, which means both guards are covered. Then I have another linebacker level. We're going to have three linebackers on this level, the Sam, the Mike, and the Will. It doesn't really matter if they're all stacked in the box or whether you have them apexed. That doesn't really matter when you're starting out on the board, okay, when you're drawing this stuff. And then the last but not least is I'm going to have my four defensive backs as the last line of defense. Remember, we always have two safeties in the game, right? So there's one safety. I call him the strong safety because he happens to be on the tight end side. And then I have a free safety, which happens to be on the weak side. Now, if we were in split field coverage, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, this would be the free safety and this would be the rover safety. Right now, we're not in split field coverage. This is a conventional defensive alignment, and we're just saying that this safety happens to be on the strong side. Okay, that's the only difference. So that's our basic setup. If we were going to do a basic setup with a three-man front, I would just slide these players over, drop this end out, and if you remember from our last meetings, when we get into a three-man front like this, we're calling the drop outside linebacker here the buck. Now, some people will also call him the drop. We're going to call him the buck. He is away from the Sam. He is the weak side player that will put his hand down and rush off the edge here. So he becomes the buck. Okay, I'll just put a B there, and we'll move him back because we're not going to stay in this. We're going to get down into that four-man front where we're going to put him in an even front here. We'll walk him down, and now he's just a regular down player. Okay, let's talk motions and shifts for a second. It's important for you to understand that only one player can go in motion at any one time. So I can put this Y in motion and we can snap the ball while he's moving. Okay. If I want to put the Z in motion, what has to happen, we can do it, but he has to step onto the line. So he's covering the end man line of scrimmage, and then the Z steps off of the line. Now he's eligible to go in motion. And that's just something that maybe you've seen lots and lots of times in all kinds of different football games at all levels, but never really thought about. You can snap the ball when one player is in motion. He can return motion. He can go in and out. He can also motion across and in loop, right? So he can also loop around. You might have maybe you call it orbit. This guy he comes around here like this, and let's see if I can get this to work here. Yeah, it comes around like that, and he can loop around. He can also just run jet right across your face. Those are all real, legal, legitimate motions. Okay. Shifting is different in that you can move all of these guys at the same time. And I know I'm not doing that right now, but imagine if they all moved in like this at the same time. They can all move so long as you come to be still and stationary for 1 second. So I can move all of these guys. We could line up in this tight formation, and when all of a sudden he can go over here, and this guy can run over here, and he can run out there, and this guy can go over here. And as long as everyone gets set for one moment, that is perfectly legal. And that's the value of a shift. Now, it's important to distinguish the difference. We cannot snap the ball while all these guys are moving. Okay? They all have to come to a halt and a stop for one moment. And once that happens, you can snap the ball. So there's great value in shifting for sure. if you use it properly. So the difference between a motion, one player at a time, you can snap it while he's in motion. Shifts, all of the guys can move at the same time, and basically you just have to wait for them to all get set, and once they're set, you can snap the ball. Both of them put pressure on the defense, right? Both of them put pressure on the defense. Let's talk a little bit about defensive alignments. Um, in our previous meetings, we talked about, let me move these guys off. We talked about the defensive alignment numbering system, okay? And I'll just use this E for a second. When when the when this player is head up on the center, that's a 0. When he's head up on the guard, it's a 2. When he's head up on the tackle, excuse me, that's a 4. And if I had the tight end in here, this would be a 6. And then let's go back. So what comes after 0 is 1, shade on the center. Inside of 2 is 2I, so I'm inside shoulder of the guard. Comes after 2 is 3, right? I'm outside shoulder of the guard. Let's get over here into my 4 position. Inside of 4 is 4I. Outside of 4 is 5. Here's my 6 position. Inside of 6 is 7, and outside of 6 is 9. There is no 8, okay? So that's really important for you to understand and know. Why? Because we're getting into defensive front. So let's talk about that for a second. Our defensive fronts are very, very simple. Basically, they are this. If both of my guards are covered, okay, if both my guards are covered, let's make them blue here so you know who the guards are, right? Both my guards are covered with the defensive tackles, that is an even front, okay? If both my guards are uncovered, okay, you can see there, it's still a 4-man front, right? It's still a 4-man front, but both my guards are not covered by a defender. That is an odd front, all right? So even, covered, odd, both uncovered. That's the difference. Let's go back to even. I think that's a great place to always start. So now we talked about, we talked about even, right? And we talked about odd. Now let's talk about over. So if I was to shift my defensive tackle in a 1 and a 3 technique over to the tight end, that's an over front. So that's what an over front looks like. I got a 3 and a 1 to the tight end, over. If I'm shifted away from the tight end in a 1 and a 3, right, that is an under front. And maybe this guy would be like this. Lots of different ways that they might line up, but all we care about, really, all we're really looking at, and I'll draw you a box here so you can really see it. This is all we're really looking at. Don't look at anything else. This is what matters, right? So if I'm shifted a 1 and a 3 away from the tight end, that is an under front. It's an under front. If I'm shifted over to the tight end like this, that is an over front, right? If I'm in this position where both guards are covered, that is an even front. If I'm shifted into where both guards are uncovered, let me move this guy out. Both guards are uncovered, that is an odd front. It does not matter who's on the line of scrimmage. It doesn't matter where they like running around like this. That's not what we're looking at. All we're looking at is this little box here, okay? And then last but not least, this is typically how teams get to bear. They'll slide this guy down, reduce the end into a 3, and walk that guy up like that, right? And now if we're looking at this, woo, woo, woo. I mean, we've got sirens going off because we're thinking that's a bear front. What do they like to do in a bear front? Cover everybody and dog those linebackers, right? So we got to be alert when we get the bear front. Okay, that's definitely a key for us. All right, so let's talk a little bit about protections. And when we're talking protections, I want you to think about big on big. That's what Bob means. Big on big. Real simple. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Talk about big on big protection for a second. In all of your protections, the thing that you want to make sure you understand is how many players are in protection. So we're going to call this a 6-man protection. Why? Because we have 6 players in protection. Let's make these guys the same color again. Okay, 6 guys in protection. Big on big is very simple. All it is this. My big guys have the 4 down guys plus the mic. Well, we know this is the mic, so here we go. These guys have those guys. And now my back will probably go to the side, right? And take him. Can't take both, right? I know it looks really good on the board. Hey, let's have him take both, but in reality, we're not going to have he can't block both guys, right? So I found over time it's just better to give him the assignment of the Sam and let this guy be the quarterback's guy. So if this guy comes, the quarterback knows I have to get rid of the ball and would be a great place to throw it would be right there, right? So, you know, you have to start somewhere. And just saying that he's going to come up in sort for those 2 guys is just not realistic. It doesn't happen. So we're just going to say he's got either Sam or Will. Okay, let's say he's going to go to the Will this time. Now the quarterback is going to be concerned about him. The beauty of what we're doing here is saying if the Mike comes, we're good. If the Will comes, we're good. The only thing the quarterback has to really worry about is the unblocked guy, right? The unblocked guy. So that's big on big protection, okay? The other great thing about big on big protection is you can change the mic. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say that we get this look and he comes up. And to begin this play, he was the mic and my back was going here. Now I've got a free rusher here. I don't want that, right? So what do I do? I'm going to change the mic. I'm going to make this player the mic. So now my big guys are going to have those big guys. He's going to take him. He's going to take him. He's going to take him. And now my back can take the most dangerous linebacker. And now the quarterback only has to worry about the Sam. If the Sam blitzes, then the quarterback has to throw the ball and get rid of it, right? And if he does, we're looking to take advantage of that voided area there, right? Okay, that's one way to pick this up. Another way to pick this up would be, hey, fullback, let's make this the mic, keep him the mic. So now we draw a circle around the guys that are blocked, right? That tells the quarterback, hey, we're good. Now this player is responsible for the Will, right? Now, that's not a matchup that I love, but it looks good on the board, and you might have a fullback that can do that, right? I'd personally rather have the tackle fan for him, but you can also get him picked up with a fullback. And a lot of high schools will just simply do this. They'll block the big guy here, and they'll move the fullback over, or just have him sift across and take the Will. That's another good way to do it. Okay, another good way to do it. So let's step back here and talk about what is slide protection. Okay, so slide protection just says this: we're going to find the mic like we did before, but we are going to slide to the next player outside of mic. So if I'm slide left, I find the mic, and now it's a 4-man slide to the next player outside of mic. Now we're manned up on this side, big on big, right? And now my fullback has the dual read. In all slide protections, we're going to have a dual read. What's really nice about that is it says, okay, if both of these players come right in the quarterback's vision, then the quarterback has to throw the ball. But if one of them comes, then the fullback will take them. Okay, so it takes 2 to make us hot in this situation. That's a basic slide protection. I don't know how much of that you're going to do, but it definitely is a good protection and works well at all levels. Last but not least, we're going to talk about quick passing. All right, so this is specifically a quick passing protection. Do not use this for any other deeper plays. Remember, quick passing happens in 1.5 seconds. We're going to be running, routes like slant arrows, or like double hitches. Like, these are all short, quick routes, okay? And all we're going to do from a protection standpoint is we're going to gap right or gap left. So my fullback happens to be on the left side, so we're going to gap this way. We're going to gap here. He's going to take this gap. He takes this gap. He takes this gap. He takes this gap. he takes this gap, and this guy takes this gap. So now we're not really concerned about, any kind of blitzes here, there, everywhere. It doesn't really matter. These gaps are accounted for by a player. And again, I don't think this is some great matchup for us, a defensive end on the fullback. But if you're going to catch the ball and pick a side and throw it immediately, this guy's never going to have a chance to get to you, right? 1.5 seconds, the ball is going to be off. All right, guys, so we went over the basic setup, motions and shifts, defensive alignments, defensive fronts, protections. Looking forward to this upcoming week. Thanks.